Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new episode of Finance Pe Charcha. I hope you've been following Finance Pe Charcha and you've watched all the past episodes that we've done. Today, we have a very special guest. If at all you are on Twitter, LinkedIn, I don't think you need to know who the guest is. Uh, in fact, apart from him bringing the background of working with HDFC, he keeps writing a lot about it. SBI in the past, currently running Complete Circle. If I'm not wrong, he manages more than 1,000 crore of assets across distribution and the PMS that he runs. But apart from all of these things, I really want to introduce Gurmeet to you all in one phrase. If you really want to feel positive about India, go to his timeline. I think he's one guy that I've never seen talk about anybody negatively on the social media. And I try and follow his footsteps because sometimes I really get irritated with too much of trolling that keeps happening and I vent my frustration out. But I've never seen Gurmeet talk anything negative about anybody. And I've only seen him talk positive about India. He's our guest today. He's going to decode auto sector for us. And because I know him for quite some time and I've seen his talks on various news channels, I know he's going to make it extremely simple for all of you all to understand. So allow me to introduce and welcome Gurmeet. Hi, Gurmeet.
Hey, Ketan, thank you for all the kind words. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure. And anything to do with teaching people, educating people, I'm always game because there's an old saying that when you teach, two people learn. So आप खुद सीखते हो, and since so whenever you are talking, you also do a bit of research. Sometimes in Q&A, you figure out what is something which you are also missing out. So thank you for having me, and our purpose is to keep making equity simple.
100%. I will completely second your thought. In fact, the reason why I used to at one point in time do a lot of trainings is because that kept me on the edge. And I know if there are 1,100 people sitting across and they are working professional, they can come back to you and ask you anything, and you should really be prepared. So, like you rightly said, while you teach, you kind of make sure that you are updated yourself. So, but yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out, Gurmeet. I know you've been extremely busy, but I'm so glad that you've taken the time out to be a part of the show.
And always a pleasure. It's just that was a result season, and since now we run our PMS, we have to update. So much happening in the market. In fact, मैंने पीछे लिखा था कि there are days when years happen in markets. I think last 2 months have been exactly that.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm very keen to learn from you. Today I'm a student. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. If at all I don't understand anything that you are saying, Gurmeet, so don't mind me nudging you with a lot of questions. But I'll just make you the host and have you do all the talking then. Just give me a moment. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So thank you. I think topic was auto OEMs and ancillaries, and a lot of people get surprised why this topic. And so I'm obviously a career banker. So banking has been one favorite, and reflection my portfolios also talks also. So I firmly believe in buying what you understand and not venturing into what you don't. तो auto थोड़ा सा simple लगता है, but it's a little more complicated and needs more thorough research because you need to map the full value chain. So there were 2-3 reasons we chose auto. Just to cover this one, auto is coming after literally 5-6 year washout.
Correct.
In the sector, and not many people know there were host of challenges in auto. Started with demonetization, started with BS6 norms, started with some changes on motor pool insurance, the insurance cost going up, safety onwards, vehicle cost going up. Then COVID happened, mobility got stopped. So, and then chip shortage happened once COVID improved. So anything that can go wrong in the sector, I have seen going wrong with this sector. एंड आप सरप्राइज होंगे कि अगर आप कोविड का लो लेंगे, निफ्टी का रिटर्न निकालेंगे, दिस एक्चुअली आउट परफॉर्म. सो Nifty auto from 2020 is up 120%. Nifty is around 87-88% up. So basically, the sector is done well despite all the challenges. And I firmly think we are now coming back because it's a very cyclical sector. Most sectors are, but this one in particular. And मैं कुछ नंबर देता हूँ just to make my point very clear. तो हम for example we used to sell about 40 lakh cars in 2017. right? ये साल जब 23 जो FY 2023 खत्म हुआ है, we have sold 43 lakh cars. We are literally where we were,
Yeah.
right? Two-wheelers, you'll be surprised with this number. We were selling 2.3 crores in 2017.
Okay.
ये साल 195 पे बंद किया. It's actually degrown. I'm just, and that's the reason most two-wheeler stocks. So, अब hindsight में लगता है, why were the two-wheeler stocks not doing well after remove the last 2 months surge in Bajaj and Hero and even TVS last 6 months. But in general, if you take a 5-year block, I mean, not much has happened. Same for four-wheeler. Maruti 10,000 का शेयर था 2017 में, it's still hovering around the same.
Price.
So just tells you that obviously there were more reasons to Maruti than this number. Commercial vehicle from almost like around 8.5, 9 lakhs to now 9.5 lakhs. So marginally grown. Three-wheelers again very marginally grown. Tractors slight growth. So I'm just saying that I'm just trying to give a broad perspective that not much has happened in terms of top line. Right. So this is the reason we chose it, because I firmly believe, and there's a very famous interview of I think Mr. Manish Tokani, where he spoke about how China is now, so in 90s actually both us and China sold the same number of cars, right? And today China
ahead of us. Yeah.
2.5 crore कार बेचा है चाइना ने, हमने 40 lakh कार बेचा है. I mean, just to compare the last year number. So I think as per capita income goes up, which we are, and especially when economies are from $3 to $5 trillion journey, that's when the maximum jump happens in the discretionary spending, and auto being one of the major spending. So that's the reason I chose this. It's coming out of a slumber from a business perspective, may not be from a stock price perspective. And I think the next 5 years could be very, very crucial, and a lot of changes also are happening in mobility, which is important.
So basically, you are saying और stock में rally बाकी है.
कई सारे में और इस सेक्टर के लिए बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप वैल्यू चेन पूरा समझो. मैं एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. एक लॉक में 150 पार्ट्स होते हैं. Wow. So it includes castings, which is your zinc, aluminium, magnesium, etc. Then it includes spring, it includes rubber, it will include metals. So there are various components which go within a lock. So let's say the leading company for lock in India is Sandhar Technologies. Sandhar makes locks for largely for two-wheelers. Okay. Now they have started making hybrid locks. तो आपने कार में देखा होगा ना कि आप चाबी लेते हो बट बटन से कार स्टार्ट होती है. Correct. So it's not a smart lock, it's a hybrid lock. You're still carrying the key, right? With you. Tesla is a smart lock. You can open and run the car through an app, right? So they are now moving from traditional locks to hybrid locks to smart locks. Nice. Right? And it makes other components also. It's castings, it makes cabins, it makes frames for two-wheelers. So काफी चीजें करता है. So I was just giving an example that so many things go within a part. So that's why it's important. And आपको सब समझ में नहीं आएगा. So choose your domain, what you like, and then accordingly source it. So this was the starting point of we choosing the sector. It's coming out after a slumber. Second, it's important to map the chain completely before you start venturing.
Interesting. I thought while you started talking, we are going to focus on probably four-wheelers, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and probably the EV chain. But I see there is a lot of interesting stuff that you are talking about. Interesting.
Yeah. So obviously, so आप इसको दो में divide करते हो, OEMs and ancillaries, right? OEMs are original equipment manufacturers, makers, whatever you want to call it. और हम typically जैसे ये slide में आपको बता रहा था कि 90s 80s में जब मारुति उद्योग बना था, that's when the real revolution started. And 92 when we delicensed the sector is when a lot of OEMs started coming, assembling, making, a lot of policies came, and then obviously to 2020 onwards things have been only looking up. So when we talk of the original producers of vehicles, right? OEMs बोल सकते हो उसे loosely, but OEMs may cover a lot of other things also. But let's talk about that. Now there are three very distinct trends happening. So if you see four-wheeler sales, I think July we will probably hit 3.5 lakh sales a month, which will be the best ever month we would have had in a long time. So four-wheelers are coming back. it's coming back with a vengeance. People are wanting to buy more. थोड़ा COVID related impact है. थोड़ा मुझे लगता है एक trend है. As you become a little more affluent, you want to upgrade. So just to give you a data, there are 2 crore bikers in India in a survey who want to upgrade, right, to a four-wheeler, right? So one is an upgrade, one is fresh demand. Third is from, let's say, a sedan to an SUV, to an SUV to a better SUV, right? So that's the second trend playing out. So what happened in early 2000 and then 2010 onwards was small cars and sedans actually did well, hatchbacks did well. तो OEMs जब आप study करते हो, especially four-wheelers या two-wheelers या SUVs, you have to first get the engine right. The guy who's got the technology right. So Maruti got the 1.3 liter engine right. And that's when you saw a host of launches by Maruti. You had Swift, you had Swift Desire, you had Baleno, you had Brezza. And Maruti literally, I think at one point of time, the market share went up to 55%. That's the time Maruti's share went up from 3,000 to 10,000 bucks, in that rally. So it got
I think every second car was a Maruti then.
Haji?
I think every second car was a Maruti then.
Absolutely, absolutely. So they got that right. They got the engine right. They got the fuel efficiency right because of that engine. Secondly, Maruti ne thoda sa premiumization kiya. In the car they gave more content per car. So in a 8 lakh Baleno, you got features of probably a 14-15 lakh sedan or Honda City in terms of features getting packed in it, right? So premiumization and the engine, you can call it an engine make or a tech of the engine, you got it right. M&M is now getting that right with the 2-liter engine, which it is getting across XUV 700, Scorpio, 5 back-to-back SUV successful launches. And at one point in time, M&M had 25% market share in SUVs. It fell down to 10%. They're back at 20% now, courtesy, host of. So you want to today, so they have like 3 lakh units which are outstanding on bookings. Almost 2 lakh is XUV 700. So nice. They really got that model right. And even Tata also got it right to an extent with Harrier, with Safari, etc. And, so now it's that 2-liter engine. TVS got it right in Apache with that, the more than 125cc bike at 150cc bike. And it was Apache and then Rider, which turned the fortunes. It was Pulsar for Bajaj, which turned the fortunes. Hero, unfortunately,
has Tata and M&M taken the share from Maruti because there was hardly any other large player in the market then?
Absolutely. So I think the Maruti lost the share on SUV. That's where the market started moving, and now that's why you see Jimny, you see the High Rider, all of that tie-up with with Toyota on the engine coming up. So I'm a believer that you will see a big surge in four-wheeler volumes driven by SUVs, and people who are dominant in SUVs are the ones which are going to do well. So look at M&M, for example, was languishing at 700-800 for a long period of time. Obviously, because of wrong capital allocation, also loss-making JVs. So they got the capital allocation right, but predominantly now they are getting the SUV numbers right? And the tractor business, the market share is going up. It's just 42%. And then a lot of you won't know, M&M is also the market leader in lightweight commercial vehicles. They have 45% market share there. Right, so all three components, M&M is getting it right. It was led by SUVs, then followed by gain in market share of tractors, and pick up in LCV post industry activity and investment activity picking up. So if you want to be in OEMs, the preferred play right now, if you are an investor, should be get the four-wheeler guy right, the guy who's really making friends, because that's where I see it will outpace commercial vehicle. It is definitely outpacing two-wheelers without a doubt. Two-wheelers, in fact, will struggle more, in terms of both the sales as well as margins. And the disruption also in two-wheeler is more from startups than four-wheelers. So, that's more likely to be disrupted more. So that would be the other challenge, which, while I still believe the existing guys will finally manage, but I think the disruption in two-wheelers would be a little more than four-wheelers and LCV and
it looks like when you hear Rajiv Bajaj talk, it looks like that he's going to make sure that the new startups don't really take a pie away from Bajaj.
Yeah, no, so I think some of it did, but the safety norms come in. See, kya hota hai, Ketan, ye business mein na distribution reach is very underrated. So Maruti's largest distributor in South sells more cars than Kia Motors,
Oh,
all India, right?
oh, yeah.
So Maruti has 4 dealers whose turnover is more than 1,000 crores.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's not
Wow.
easy to dislodge. It's once the distribution. Look at HUL, an unrelated example.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
HUL is 10 million outlets.
Yeah.
Tata Consumer अब जाके 2 million पहुंचा, right? Dabur is closely second at 6 million, right? So you go to any nook and corner, go to Hills, and you'll find an outlet. There's a distribution mode, especially in auto. To get a dealership, it's very capital intensive business.
That's the same discussion that always kept happening around paints also.
Absolutely.
While Grasim and all can come in, but the kind of distribution network that Asian Paint has been able to build is very difficult to replicate.
Yeah, it's where the brand becomes like a generic, it becomes synonymous with
Yeah.
paint. So I think that's even Hero, despite losing, uska market share up jaake 43% aaya, despite it degrowing for 3-4 years. The kind of extensive rural reach, Hero has. So it's not easy to dislodge, is what the limited point I'm making. Maruti at its worst is still 44% market share from 50%. Right?
Wow.
So time लगता है, and 4-wheelers में और मुश्किल है ये dealership बनाना, service करना, because after sales service, availability of space, there's a lot of things which go in there. So I think play the 4-wheeler. If I have an investor, I will play the 4-wheeler trend. Within 4-wheeler, then I will play the premiumization trend, right? So who's packing more content per car, right? So there was a time we and you used to buy the lowest model, and then we used to go to the local market and get the accessories added, right? This was 10 years back. Today, you just want to buy the top end model, or one notch the top end model. You want more features. You would want a sunroof. You would want infotainment systems, alloy wheels, car seats, fancy car seats, right? So what is happening is that so if you are coming with more premium features, you'll be able to price the product also well. So I give you an example: Toyota Innova, High Cross right now. The difference between VX and ZX, right, is 4 lakh rupees. So it's 29 lakh for VX. Toyota Innova has become 29 lakhs for a hybrid model. Take that for This is X showroom, okay, so I'm not even adding the other stuff. And ZX, because it has sunroof and it has more features inside the car, is 4.5 lakhs more.
That used to be cheaper at one point in time.
Yeah, so I'm saying, I just think that I drove, and there's 2-year, they're not taking any fresh bookings. There's a 2-year waiting period for, in fact, any SUV you want to book right now, XUV 700, let's say you want to book a Innova High Cross, you want to book a High Rider, you just try book any best-selling model of the top 4-5 years. There is a 6 to 12 month waiting. Discounts have disappeared. Raw material costs have softened. Perfect operating leverage coming in, chip shortage getting moved. So I think if I were me, I would play the 4-wheeler for now, because it will outpace the overall industry growth. And within 4-wheeler, you pay the premiumization. Now, the second thing.
Before you move ahead, can I just quickly revise, just to make sure, because you've given so many numbers, it is very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to say is that in the auto space, we have 2 broader classifications. We are saying OEM and auto ancillaries. OEMs, though, may not be textbookly correct, but we are talking about the manufacturers here who are making the cars. And auto ancillaries, which we've not touched up as yet, are the parts that will go into the car, right? Now we are saying on the OEM side, we are talking about 4 broader bifurcations. We are saying 4-wheelers, we are saying 2-wheelers, we are saying 3-wheelers, and we are saying commercial, right? And within commercial, we are saying light commercial vehicles and heavy commercial vehicles.
Even tractor makers. I mean, you can add that also.
And tractors, right? And now that we are discussing, you very interestingly made a point that 2-wheelers probably are going to go through a lot of challenges, because disrupting that market was easier, then there is a lot of competition there, right? On the 4-wheeler side is where you seem there is a lot of interest, is because versus China, the number of cars that we are buying in India is minuscule. We are still at the 2017 number in terms of the sales that has really happened. Not a lot of disruption. It's not easy to disrupt this market, and hence, these large OEMs who've been able to create distribution will actually turn out to become a very big moat for themselves. And you very rightly put across how originally where getting the engine right, and then packaging, giving more value for the money actually played out, right? I hope I've been able to gather this.
Absolutely, and rural recovery will happen, Ketan, at some point of time because we're post-state elections.
Yeah.
So you may get a bit of a tactical opportunity both in tractor and two-wheelers at some point of time, but I don't see it structural.
Sure, got your
Yeah.
point.
So tactically may come, and it came. So for example, TVS has done phenomenally well, and as I said, because they got the engine right with Apache and Rider, their margin went up from 6 to 12%.
Yeah.
And that's what led to re-rating of, and the same thing if you apply it to Hero, it's their margins which have been falling from double digit to single digit because you've not been able to get the engine technology right and upgrade as per the standards. Plus, I think they were very late in going beyond the 100cc segment. The market moved to premium bikes,
quickly. Yeah.
PC bikes and all, which is maybe we'll discuss some other day. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, Govind.
Yeah. So the first preference being four-wheelers, I think commercial vehicles would be second. Ashok Leyland, Tata Motors obviously is a big sum of parts of JLR, PV and all. But if you want to pay pure play commercial vehicles, I think Ashok Leyland purely from a pure play, I think it fits the bill. Almost 36% market share, third, fourth largest truck maker globally. I think the GST with economic activity picking up and with these dedicated freight corridors coming up, there is a huge, I think US grew, by making roads and infrastructure. I think India is following that path. So I think commercial vehicles would be second in my view after the four-wheelers as it plays out. Now, how to map the chain, right? So you think that, let's say, four-wheelers will do better. You think CV will also follow. Now, how do I play the complete value chain? Now, the disadvantage of only buying makers of four-wheelers, two-wheelers, or CV is that some of them are not listed.
Yeah.
Toyota is not listed. Hyundai and Kia are not listed. Volkswagen is not listed. A lot of them are not listed, right? Just to name a few. But there are a lot of auto ancillary part makers who supply to these guys. Right, I started the discussion with Sandhar technology, primarily making into, and this is the slide, primarily making, locks and then castings and cabins and etc. But that will supply to everyone. It will supply to HMSI also in Honda, which is not listed. It may supply some parts to BYD also, which is trying to make a base in India. Right. So auto ancillary, the advantage is that if it's listed, and if you map the clients correctly, you may play the entire theme. The original makers may restrict you to only listed. So for example, Hyundai has a very good market share, courtesy Creta and some of the models. Kia took the market through Sonnet and other models by surprise. So now, how do I play this, right? I broadly will classify them into four categories, right? First are the categories who are making engine components, right? Which is so there are two types of engines right now, maybe three if hydrogen comes in, but primarily two types, right? Which is IC engine. Within IC, you can have hybrid, you can have pure petrol or diesel. Then you have the EV guys, and then third, if we get it right, maybe ethanol flexi engines, which Mr. Gadkari is talking about. But I think we are some time away. It's a long road there. Now, guys who are actually making hard engineering products, which are going into the engine, that's the one way of playing this entire thing, So give an example, Bosch can come in that. A large part of its portfolio will be part of the hard engineering engine component suppliers. Samardhan Motherson could be second example, although it has a huge diversified portfolio, but that could be the other example. So one category is, the hard engineering component suppliers, right? I personally think, there could be disruption there. We don't know what would be the final mix of EV versus hybrid versus ethanol versus hydrogen. I don't know right now. I think
the tire and the seats will still be the same. So.
I think India will be a hybrid market. I think India probably urban could be more EV. I think and hybrid. I personally think hybrid could disrupt. It's really bringing down the cost of ownership. and also the fuel efficiency. For example, a lot of the hybrid cars, the efficiency is 20 to 23 kilometers an hour. Now, if you can get there 20, 25 kilometers an hour, that arbitrage reduces to a large extent. And then we have the charging infrastructure issue, which will take more time to come. So I would not really be very gung-ho on hard engineering and the component makers as far as auto ancillaries or OEMs are concerned. Simply being, market is all about discounting the future. आज आप 10 का पी दे रहे हो या 20 का पी दे रहे हो, आप 20 years earnings का multiple दे रहे हो ना. But if my 20-year business model is not sure and I'm edgy, the market may not give you high multiples, right? So, and that is the reason a lot of these names I took with no bias also underperform. Plus their internal capital allocation, I'm not going to get it there. But the hard engineering guys, except for the guys who got into EVs and got huge orders, like JBM got orders for electric buses, it's really zoomed in last 2 years. Sona, BMW actually is more an EV play, so it's a specialized play. So this particular pocket, unless you have great insights on a particular model doing well, you're a mechanical engineer or automotive engineer by background, and you can really crack it right, you can play that. But I would in general not play that right now, being a layman or a common investor. The second guys are who are providing more content per vehicle, right? And these are the guys who will be relevant whether you're driving an EV or you're driving an IC engine or you're driving any other model. One place I got lucky because because I stay in Delhi, Gurgaon, and a lot of these guys are based out of here. So we got very lucky with the entire Minda group, which is both Uno Minda and Minda Corp now. Uno Minda started as a switch and a lighting maker. So if you see the switches on the steering, which you use for increasing volume, or you see the switches of power windows, this is all made by Minda. Right, so they started with switches, lightings, locks, those locks, and now they are really moved to one of the highest content or a highest kit value per car. So Minda already is talking of 30,000 rupees kit value per car, and then there are plans of getting to 55,000 rupees. So lighting, switches obviously was their core, which is continues to do well. They've got into alloy wheels this year; it's got fully operational. They've gone into airbags. They've gone into car seats. They have some 17 different JVs to make various electrical parts for the maker. And airbags, if the regulation comes in, you'll have 6 airbags from 2. So one airbag is 5,500 bucks. So if you make from 2 to 6, just because of airbag, the content value goes up by 25.
30,000 per car is going to be fast gone.
Absolutely. So there are other airbags. Minda is not the only one. Minda has 15% market share. There are others, but as I said, they are really packing a punch. Very good on acoustics. Very good in infotainment systems. Their portfolio is also EV ready. So one good thing they have done in the last 2 years, they've DC charger they've made. They've made smart battery management solutions. Nice. So they're really upping up. I think on tech spending, especially forging joint ventures, I think this is one company which has really done well. Their market cap was 2,000 crores in 2016. Today it's upwards of 35,000 crores. So great. I mean, in a sector which did not do well in last 6 years, tremendous value creation. The other one on content per car, you can add Sona BMW because that's predominantly has both EV, non-EV portfolio, and they are into assemblies, hybrid care, and one of the best EV. So if you talk of an EV portfolio for an OEM, I think they would be the highest content per vehicle supplier. Expensive stock because it's obviously a catchy theme. And the other drawback was a lot of Ps were exiting at very high valuation. So there was an overhang. Their IP was also largely OFS. But this is another company, you could. So in this slide, if you see, I have covered the hard engineering ones, right? Sundram Clayton castings. Also, you can make it as part of engineering if you want to, but it's both engineering and accessories. Then I was talking about aesthetics and content per car. So you will see, Uno Minda, Sandhar, a lot of other companies in this. And then, hard components, again, you have examples like Axles, which is GNA axle. The third category is the other accessories of the car, which again are likely to be common, right? So let's say, for example, tires,
Yeah.
right? Now, a lot of people don't realize tires actually, EV is positive for tires. EV vehicles are heavier because of the battery weight. I always thought when that the normal IC engine would be heavier, but because of the weight of the battery, unless more technology comes in, EV vehicles are more heavier. Second, there is a very nice Google survey. I probably should have actually included in the slide, which is telling how Indians are traveling more, right? Not because of the road network the country has created in last few years, which is having a very positive impact on both the original demand for the tire and the replacement demand, right? So by just virtue of you driving more, and it's a direct play on how cars are sold. Plus, there is a replacement market, very strong replacement market. MRF is one of the leaders in replacement market. It's not doing as well as in terms of the original demand. There, I think Apollo, Seat, Bridgestone, and few Japanese brands do well. But on replacement, in fact, MRF made 1 lakh rupees, touched 1 lakh rupees, being the first share also. Tremendous wealth creator, but off late, has been a little soft. Then you have the battery makers, right? In EV, actually, it would be more integrated play, but in other engines, you would still need batteries. So there is Amaraja, there is Excite, and then Amaraja, Excite have their own plans as far as the EV portfolio is concerned.
Urmi, on the battery side, would it not be more challenging, like you were highlighting, because you don't know what will really play out and how
Absolutely.
really disruptive
Absolutely. I
the
agree with
battery side of the
you. I
business
agree
will be.
with you. That's the reason I didn't really discuss it in great detail, because they also would need to reinvent. And within battery also, from lithium ion, now we are moving to another technology.
Yeah, there's so much happening. Yeah.
Lithium ion has very big disposable issues. It can't be decomposed easily. Huge environmental issues. So actually, on one end you are saying EV is cleaner.
Yeah. On the other end, this is the other side of the curve.
So challenging one. That's the reason I would prefer to avoid that pocket unless more clarity emerges. Hydrogen also is coming as an alternate. Issue is hydrogen is too volatile. So in hydrogen, storage is an issue. Right? So it's easy to make through electrolysis, but the issue is because it's being volatile, the storage cost is very high. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff happening. So I would avoid that space because we are not technical people.
I think largely I'll go with you. Concentrate on ancillaries. Look at who's doing how much packaging per car, and I think you've got it correct. You've got the trend correct.
Yeah. So I think the focus should be on, as I said, content per car. Then there could be regulatory developments which would suddenly propel you. So, for example, airbag was one. Now they are saying the truck cabin has to be air conditioned, right? So the government is coming up with a regulation that it actually is pro truck drivers because they really drive very long hours. And Sucrose is one of the largest AC supplier, right? And that really is, so some of it could happen because the government makes more safety, more compliance for the larger good, which is both airbags, air conditioners, something more can happen. So you have to keep a watch in terms of what plays out. So, for example, there is also talks of more safety features being packaged into a car, and that's why Maruti, if you see on various safety test results, Maruti cars have scored very poorly on global testing. That's another reason, quasi ESG comes into play. In this part, they were not EV ready. Then there was safety standard. They were not getting the SUV right. So, multiple things going wrong.
Like for the longest time, they definitely made media commentary saying that they are not going to focus on the EV unless the market really pushed them to move that direction.
And even now they are talking of the first model in 2025. So they're clearly late. I think what they're doing smartly now is getting into the hybrid category.
Yeah.
I think one thing with Maruti there is that, so they've set up a new line in Gujarat. I think that should start shipping out very good. There's very good numbers from Maruti. Just we were about to start the show. The profits have actually doubled. I don't know how. I'm particularly not happy with how Jimny they have launched it. So I don't know how that will be very critical for them because the SUV piece is still missing. I think that's something they probably need 2-3 models there.
And they have a very steep competition from Thar and the likes of others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Huge competition coming in the SUV. So play the content per car. Now, another theme which really worked well for us. And so this is, the technology theme with it. within auto ancillaries, right? And we really got lucky, I would say. It's not that it was a conscious choice in some of the portfolios we manage. So we met in one of the like this kind of a session. I met somebody who was explaining how cars are going to turn into computers, right? And it was a very fancy topic, so I joined it. And the presenter was the owner of KPIT, Ravi. And he said that in 2016, the cost of software in a car was less than 10%. In 2022, that's when I actually joined the call last year, it is 23-24%.
Oh, wow.
And by 26-27, it will be more than 50%. So the car you will drive will have more features. And if anybody has driven Tesla, he will relate to it. Exactly. That eventually it will be more electronics and more software. So then they spoke about how the architecture has to be changed. So one concern with EV has been that at the top end, it's doing well. The smaller EVs, the cost is still an issue. You have to give that FAME subsidy and etc. Because the architecture is, they have to reduce the number of chips in the car. So you have to basically decentralize this from a centralized architecture. And that's where KPIT, they said, is working on. So and because of that, the cost of the car will come down. But the fact was that the car would have.
Could you repeat this? Sorry, I lost it. Could you repeat the architecture point?
Yeah. So currently in a large EV, let's say a Merc is making an EV or a Tesla is making an EV, which is a larger sedan where the cost is also higher side. We have a more centralized architecture with multiple chips and computers. For a smaller one, you need to make a decentralized one. You have to reduce the number of chips. Only then the cost will come down. Otherwise, it won't come down. You may try different methods. And that's what they are working on with Renault and a few of the other labels they have added. And the second part was that on 100 rupees cost of the car, the electronic and software components, including the software, the cost would be, so 50% of the car would basically be software and electronics.
Wow.
Right? And that's what we are moving into. And if you see the features in the car, it makes sense of what he's talking. Look at the way we are driving the cars, whether it is temperature controlled, whether it is putting the car on autopilot, whether it is the sensors we have. I think it's catching up. The car is adding more and more software. And that is
not there on the slide. It's
Yeah.
not there on the slide.
No, it's not on the slide. It's not on the slide. The name of the company, there are two companies in this. One is KPIT Technologies. It's been a huge multi-bagger for last year and a half. The other one, which is a quasi play, is Tata Elxsi. So these guys actually are into embedded auto software. So Tata Elxsi is also into aeronautics, aerospace, etc. KPIT is 100% auto software. So it's called, you can add, it's called CASE, Connected, Autonomous, Shared, Electric. Oh. So the entire platform is called CASE, so you're trying to connect a lot of features in the car. You're trying to connect the car to the outside world using GPS and others. Then it is autonomous, which is, there will probably be cars which will be driverless and making the car more and more work on an autonomous basis in terms of features, in terms of other stuff. Then it's shared, how much data and how much common things are shared, right? And fourth is obviously electric. So it's a great platform. Very, in fact, you can do
learning.
You can do a session actually on CASE. That's how interesting it is.
But very good learning. Very good learning. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a fourth component. You play the technology within the car. And I think that's where we got it right. And as I said, I was fortunate. I just bumped into a session. I had no idea, no clue about it.
Only hardworking people get lucky with it.
Yeah, but I think the lesson here is even because you have the curiosity to learn. I think and a lot of people, and I keep telling people, if you are a great learner, the market will eventually reward you. Correct. Unfortunately, we are just too price anchored. What price to buy, what stock to buy,
what valuation to buy.
If you're just learning, I think this thing just came out. This thing just came out because of the curiosity we have. So this is largely, it's actually there. Software CASE, KPIT. If you see at the bottom, you added that just now, right?
I added that. Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering how did I
added.
Yeah. Fair. So this is the fourth part of auto ancillaries.
Very interesting. Very. So So let's say we are talking about four-wheelers. We are talking about commercial vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Because the infrastructure will end up doing well. And then we are saying that there is a lot of meat to eat on the auto ancillary side.
Yeah.
Largely look at, I don't know what phrase did you use, but that meant value per car. How much
Content per car. Yeah.
content per car. And you very interestingly, spoke about Minda. I love the case example that you really gave. We also spoke about tires, right? How MRF is probably doing very well in the replacement market, but the others have been able to do well in the new market. So auto ancillary was the third area that you focused on. Yes.
Yeah, so basically, divided into four: hard engineering and component guys, then accessories guys, right? Then content per play, and then the software part of it. So broadly, there are various other ways to do it also, but just for simplicity, we can divide.
No,
And now,
I think that was
since
very
you,
well summarized.
yeah, since you talk about tires, so tire companies haven't really created that much wealth.
Yeah.
But there is another subcomponent. So a lot of those beads go into tire, right? There's a company called Raj Ratan Wire. It actually makes beads for those.
Oh, wow.
Right. So that's when I give an example of lock. That lock also has like 150 components. So once you get the model right, so for example, I'll give you an example. If you got TVS right, for example, if you got TVS right, you would have got Sandhar right, because Sandhar is the main component supplier of TVS. It makes up almost on radar, for example, 37,000 rupees is actually supplied by Sandhar, just one model. So the bike would be what, 1.25 lakhs, and one particular guy really is supplying that. And then if you would have mapped EV, if you map the auto software, we are so focused on who will be the next Tesla, but we forget about who will be the next EV, component supplier. So I think that is why I said map the value chain completely. Anything you like, if you like, for example, the farming and infrastructure activity. Now there is a tire company called Balakrishna Industries.
Correct.
It makes off-highway tires.
Correct.
The vehicles who do not run on roads.
Yeah.
Right. So you have all those tippers and the bucket makers, etc. So it's basically manufacturing activity related, industry activity related, agriculture activity related, and it's one of the very good wealth creators, very good capital allocation. They are very integrated in terms of their carbon print, as well as sourcing that. So if you map that correctly, so Balakrishna also is a play on revival of the investment activity, and it's actually a tire company which is off highway into off.
Yeah, makes so much of sense. No, Gurmeet, what I was just thinking was that before this particular call started, I actually thought, क्या होएगा? I mean, four-wheelers है, three-wheelers है, two-wheelers है.
Yeah.
Commercial or thoda auto ancillary. I'm telling you, there are 4 or 5 companies that you've named that I'm hearing for the first time, very honestly. So there's so much of learning, and I'm so excited. But thank you so much for sharing this. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's as I said, we are also learning. I mean, once you manage public money, I think the responsibility goes up. So, so I think we are trying to do, and there are, as I said, there are so many parts in a car. There's no end to it. You have to. I mean, there are bearing guys, there are sensor guys, there are lock guys. I mean, if you break up a car, right? And I'll give you one data. So auto now was 2% of the GDP in India in 90s when liberalization happened. Today it is 7.1% of the GDP.
Oh, nice.
So it's one of the sectors which is contributed majorly to nation building as well, and employees.
Otherwise, also a lead indicator in trying to understand consumer spending and stuff like that, right?
Absolutely, and almost employs 19 million people directly. So huge impact. It has to do well for the economy too. It's the wheels of the economy, right? As you say. Yeah. So this was on the ancillary. Can we move to the next? So these are the trends I was trying to tell you. So there is a movement from sedans to SUVs to higher end SUVs. I spoke about the launches. A lot of rural demand, I think, will start to pick up. With government will now focus as elections near. Then there is general elections next year. There is more complexity in car making, so it's a lot of entry barriers. So this sector is not as simple as it looks. And then you can cover if you want to cover the financing part of the cars, but I will not dwell too much into it because that's a more. And then obviously is the EV. So we'll spend a little more time on EV, and then we can cover how to pick something on a valuation metrics, how to value. Yeah. So next, if you could go, yeah. Right. So as I said, in four-wheelers, the threat is relatively lesser, although in any business you can't say that this business has no threat. I think what I meant was that it needs big infra support, and a lot of that will take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And the cost of making a four-wheeler EV is pretty high. It requires a lot of capital investment, distribution reach. And within risk, as in the last line says, the biggest risk is again tech to tech, right? You don't know what will disrupt what. And we are talking about battery swapping coming in. Then there's talks of new age batteries coming in. There's too much complexity in my view. So I would personally say
cost of the car is also significantly high.
Very high. Without subsidy, as I said, and so we did a maths, unless you are driving 80 kilometers a day.
Which is, I mean, I don't know how many people in metro really drive that much, right? Because it is so crazy to travel. I mean, all of us know we don't talk about distance in kilometers. We say kitna time lagega, right? 80 kilometers a day is too high for a normal metro traveler to really do. So sometimes I wonder whether somebody who's actually buying an EV and is going to use in metro is even going to get the worth for the monies that they've bought.
Correct. Absolutely. That's what I said. I think the beneficiaries of EV, in my view, rather than the guys who are actually making, because I think Tata is way ahead as far as India is concerned. Yeah. But look at the numbers. We sell 35 lakh cars, we sell 1.5 lakh EVs. Now that's like not even 5%. So बड़ा लंबा सफर है, वो 1.5 लाख से 16, और उसमें क्या है, मारुति को कुछ गेन करने को नहीं है, तो मारुति को तो रिप्लेस करना पड़ेगा. करेक्ट. अगर मैं 18 लाख कार ऑलरेडी बेच रहा हूँ 36 lakh cars, let's say 40 lakh cars साल का सेल है. I'm taking a number and I'm selling 18 lakh cars. For me to get a benefit of EV, I have to do 20 lakh cars. Correct. Absolutely.
It is easier for you to move from 18 to 20 than trying to build an entire line of something that you don't really see a lot of immediate value on, and you don't know how soon will it really get disrupted.
तो टाटा के लिए बेनिफिट हो सकता है, उसका 6% मार्केट शेयर है पैसेंजर व्हीकल में, तो वो उसको 12-14 ले जा सकता है. So I personally think the leader would not gain by that. For them, it is sustenance. The challenger, if he gets its act right, gains market share, and Tata also has JLR, which is still 70-75%, right? तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि ओरिजिनल कार मेकर्स में it is too complex in terms of wealth creation. Then there are talks of Tesla coming, BYD disrupting. We don't know, who's ahead on technology. So it's better to get an ancillary or a component supplier who's supplying to all five who are trying to.
Absolutely makes sense.
And so I think, and that's where I think there is more, especially as an equity investor. Okay, so this is just basic. I don't want to dwell too much in terms of, that we can move to the next step. Right. So this is the landscape, which I was talking about. See the number of OEMs. See so there's one interesting space, which is mobility and logistic fleets. I think this is something which is interesting. We missed out Genson. I mean, Anmol is a great friend, and the Blue Smart Cap, which you popularly know, his friends. So one opportunity which could come, in my view, could be logistics and mobility in that space.
We personally raised a lot of money for Blue Smart Mobility. So
a lot of money, also continuous capital burn, and hardly anything listed. Then as I said, there is so one space I particularly like is the EV charging infrastructure space. I think this is one space where you can create wealth. One of the company which is quasi into charging and has almost 40% market share is Tata Power. The second one is a pure play, which is Servotech, which is already run up, I think 3-4x already, if I'm not wrong, because of this EV euphoria. So valuations aren't comforting, but this is one space you can track. Servotech is setting up more charging stations. There is government policy support there. Tata Power, other than EV charging, which is currently very small, is also into solar panels. And they have a very clear target of 25 gigawatts of clean energy portfolio. So it's a more clean energy portfolio. And power is also a quasi play on manufacturing picking up, economy picking up. That's why you would have seen recent surge in power as economic growth, more data comes in. So to me, that, as I said, play the charging and the clean energy portfolio more versus playing, the and then you have the component makers. We did discuss Sona, Billion. A lot of them, again, as I said, are in the unlisted space. So doesn't make too much sense, right? So this is basically the
brilliant slide. I think everything is put together. Now, if somebody really has the interest to learn, they can now be as deep do they really want to do in any of these things.
Yeah. So this is what the EV is now. I think that's the most important one. You get everything right. You understand what is doing well. How to value them. I think, and that's where you have both art and science. I think one thing which I have learned in this industry is that alone top line growth is not enough if there is no margin addition and value addition. And like if you again coming back to Maruti, Maruti was let's say selling 10 years back 8-9 lakh cars. They will sell 18 lakh cars. The margins have dropped from 18% to 8-9%. So if the volume growth lacks pricing power, lacks margin expansion, the growth is technically of no use. It's actually the case with both sectors. Look at, for example, Sun Pharma. They will probably would be again unrelated thing. 3 times they will be doing the turnover right now. But look at the margin erosion in US generics. Doesn't so if the volume growth is coming at the cost of margins, and that is why I have concerns on the EV business, because it's hugely you'll have to burn a lot of capital to take final shape. I think it's no point. Second is price to sales, extremely important, that at what rate you are valuing the company. There was a time MLM was available at 8 earning multiple. At 1500, it's still 50 times. Right. So extremely important to get the price to sales and price earning metrics right. Export data for few clients is important, especially the truck makers, which is class 5, 6 truck makers. Eicher, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of news on Eicher getting disrupted, by the likes of Honda, Bajaj, Triumph. Let me tell you one thing. I could be biased because I'm a Royal Enfield owner, both stock as well as the bike. It's very difficult to dislodge Bullet. Reason is that Bullet sells 70,000 units a month, right? More than 2,000 showrooms, and they have another 1,200 studios, right? Which is the Royal Enfield studios, and then huge export. They work on export market. Siddharth Lal becoming active post Volvo Eicher merger, a tie-up. Sorry, not the merger.
The community that they've built.
Great community, great experience, and Abhi Honda is talking about 2,000 units by the year end. A Triumph will get to 5,000 units probably in a couple of years from now monthly. So, बड़ा लंबा रास्ता है मेरे हिसाब से. And Eicher also has 5 new models coming, Himalayan, and others, and the other version of Classic. So I think the premiumization in two-wheelers, I think one guy who got it right was Eicher. They figured out that the two-wheelers are not growing, but the 250cc and above segment is growing, because they again gave experience, as the word you said, community experience. And so I think that space is still attractive to me. And this fall in Eicher to me.
Actually, I'll tell you very honestly. I mean, I meet so many people who are great Bullet and the same category bike fans, and I'm like, yeah, like Honda ki bike kitni good looking hai. You have the sporty look, and but why are people so crazy? क्योंकि उसका वो pedal shift gear भी अलग side पे है, which you are not very tuned to. It took me a lot of time to understand that and my take on this is it's actually the community experience.
Correct.
So whenever I hear Eicher, the first thing that clicks me is the community experience.
And that sound of in Punjab, that sound. Second, the resale. I mean, you try the 10-year-old Bullet will fetch you a premium.
क्योंकि घर मिलता नहीं है ना ये, like you rightly said, ये महिंद्रा का 700 जैसा है, 6-12 महीने का वेटिंग है. Right. So absolutely,
it's community. There are a lot of things which go into it, as I said, and they are launching more models. So it's not that they are not launching anything. So I think it would be difficult to dislodge. I think the competition will heat up. There could be a price war that can, for a short period, can dent margins. but I think there's enough space for a lot of people to coexist. And one last point, which is extremely important, is how integrated your supply chain is. I think that's what makes a difference, especially when you have a supply disruption like COVID or the Russia-Ukraine war. I think you would see a lot of companies getting into chip making. A lot of companies are so there's a client of mine who actually makes precision instruments and sensitive instruments for a lot of OEMs. It's an unlisted company called Metu Toyo Asia. Very old client of mine, and he said the opportunity is not China plus one, it is China minus 20.
Oh,
So a lot of market share gains will happen in global supply chain, especially now. So, and India is very, very strong as far as.
I mean, I understand that there are a lot of things that globally people will be able to do, but semiconductor is a very difficult play to replace. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take decades for somebody to really be able to replace what Taiwan is able to do at this point in time.
Very difficult, and that's why Foxconn also doesn't have real experience. I think one group which can get it right is startups. Let's see. I mean, I think it's a little early to say. But as I said, it's something which is not for the immediate. I think you take this as a theme and put it across. Then the last point.
Your views on the pollution norms, we missed that.
Yeah. So I'm saying that's something which will make Mother Nature, the impact of safety standards, pollution standards will become more and more prominent. You will see government also putting more curbs on the kind of emission. BS6 was a big disruptor.
Absolutely.
You don't know that it increased. But two-wheelers, what happened? The cost of ownership went up 10,000-12,000 bucks. So for a 50,000 bike, the increase was 20%.
20%, yeah.
It didn't. Four-wheeler में इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ा. In fact, पड़ा गया. Inflation सबसे ज़्यादा actually auto में. If today you want to buy a hatchback.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Top end Alto is 10 lakhs. I remember buying Alto for 3 lakh rupees, right? So when you're paying 10 lakh for a top end,
very similar experience. I remember some 6-7 years back buying a Honda City at 8.5.
Yeah.
9. I may be wrong. Sorry. No. 11.
यही रेट था 8-9 लाख का रेट था Honda City.
Right. और अब वो हो गया 18 से 22 लाख. I mean,
Innova was 12-13 lakhs. 30 lakhs for a Innova. It's crazy stuff happening and waiting है.
Waiting है उसके बावजूद waiting है.
So my friend just booked a friend come client booked a Mercedes E-Class at 6 months. If you want to get the right, so I'm just saying that this propensity to spend more.
Definitely.
That's also contributing. It's also a statement of you achieving a certain milestone in life. So there are a lot of trends, as I said, which are very subtle tailwinds, which will probably pay off.
Actually, we are slightly westernizing in terms of discretionary spending, which never happened in traditional India.
Correct.
I mean, today also when I go back to my dad and I talk to him about the car that I own, he's like, "Kya फालतू पैसा waste कर रहा है?" Yeah.
So I think the first asset being home, in a lot of the new generation has shifted to the car.
Yeah. Yes. It has.
A lot of this will also play out, and more in tier 2, tier 3 towns, because the wealth, वहाँ पे wealth अभी आना शुरू हुआ.
Yeah.
And COVID made them realize you need to express that wealth through travel, through cars, etc. So some of that is also probably paying off. For most important, as I said, capital allocation. You would have seen the recent example I'll give you. M&M correcting 10% because of picking up a stake in RBL.
Correct.
Now, honestly, for a 400 crore stake, market cap 15,000 crore ka chale jana is a very, it could be a knee-jerk reaction, but what it reminded the market of the past misadventures.
Yes.
So they were in SsangYong, they were doing something with Ford.
They got all wrong. Yeah.
They got it wrong, and the management clearly said we are going to focus on core, which is
also while you have M&M Finance, why do you want to take it in M&M? And RBI is never going to allow you to become a bank. So there's so many of these questions that they definitely got wrong.
Yeah. And I also think the lack of communication also hurt them. I think they could have been very clear in their stance. Also, there could be a backdoor thing like what Bandhan did. Because if you see, the last banking license came in 2004, which was Yes Bank. Yeah. The others have been more through the the merger route or
NBFC route or the merger route. Yeah.
Actually, they could. In fact, I have been given to understand there are 2 bidders for RBL. M&M is one. You will probably hear another one. So it's going to be a 2-way fight, is what the streets is saying.
Yeah.
And M&M met RBL, I think yesterday there was the announcement on the exchange. So I think capital allocation is extremely important. Look at, for example, Hero. They were so late on the EV front. And there is a already a dispute going on with the other subsidiary, which is Hero Electric is actually of the other brother, which was originally the bicycle maker, right? So I think capital allocation is, so one, misallocation. Second, not allocating to the changing trends. I think both is extremely important. I think Hero, Maruti, both are prime examples of that. I also think to an extent Mothers and Subi also, now obviously different names. Initially, it became very difficult to understand the business. कौन सी subsidiary क्या business
Spread
करेगी?
all over. Yeah.
किसी में wiring harness है, किसी में कुछ है, right? Similarly, Bosch also, they had huge confusion on where the electric subsidiary will lie, where the smart plugs will go. So I think it's important to allocate capital properly. Do not get to make the business model
Carried away with the trend.
too hard. Do not make the business model too complicated, and also don't get too carried away. So I think defense is one space where few people will get it right, few people will get it very wrong. So
Yeah.
defense requires 10-year, 15-year gestation periods.
100%.
Yeah. Everybody can't make tanks and military vehicles. There is a certain specialization, and I think that's another component which you have to watch out for. I think again the tried tested guys will do better than guys who are right now trying to get into quasi defense manufacturing.
Very interesting, Gurmeet. I think there were, like I said, there were so many of these things that I never thought were a part of auto as a business, because I very categorically relate to what you said initially. जो समझता है वो ही करो. I mean, you don't understand pharma. I mean, don't buy pharma. Yeah? There's no need for you to buy pharma.
Absolutely.
You don't understand specialty chemicals. Who's pushing you to buy? ठीक है यार. There are going to be these rallies that will play out because of valuation or trends changing or not. But if you stick to things that you really understand, you will do much better. And for me, auto was not as deep as you actually made it today. But I'm going to revisit this entire episode myself first before I roll this out. And I'll go through this PPT of yours. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people who are going to ask me to share this. Are you okay if we share the PowerPoint?
Yeah. Absolutely. In fact, what we have also done, Ketan, as a good practice is we, on a regulatory front also, we are not mandated to do that, but we also file our exits and reasons for exit.
Oh, nice.
Right. So there are things we get it wrong. And one thing in stock market which people overemphasize is the ability to pick stocks. The second thing which is less emphasized and underrated is your ego to accept mistakes.
Positions. Yeah.
No, and if you put it in writing that, honestly, we got IAX wrong, right? Yeah. It's not that we got hugely wrong, but we got it wrong in terms of reading the business model, right? We put it out on note on that, and we probably exited that 4 or 5 months back, thankfully. And it's very, very important that for you as an investor, mistakes will keep happening. You keep learn, and once you put it in writing that this is what I got it wrong, then it ensures you don't repeat it, right? So that's the reason we put it in writing, right? So do mistakes. I think that's also telling you that you are trying out, that you are learning, but be quick to admit, right? And most of us get it wrong is that we hold it to our ego that, I made this point in a presentation or on a TV broadcast.
How do I get back?
No, everybody gets it wrong. Look at Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. I mean, he got so many wrongs.
Correct.
Right? Warren Buffett bought the airline business, right? After staying away for so long. The best of the guys get it wrong. I mean,
and he's categorically made comments everywhere that he's visited that airline is a business. Nobody's made profit ever in their lives.
Correct. So he got it wrong. So lot of people get it wrong.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of mutual funds bought Yes Bank QIP at 91. There was a queue of people thinking 600 ka 90 aa gaya, right? So, but it's okay. You will, and that's why I said diversification hides a lot of these mistakes, right? And that's why these things are very, very important. So, keep learning and do mistakes, but accept
it. Gurmeet, brilliant, yaar. I loved the conversation we had. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I've personally learned so much from the presentation today. Like I said, I'm going to go back, make some notes out of what you've done, and share it on my social media that others can learn. I'm just hoping that you take some time out because you are brilliant at whatever you do. So I will invite you for something else that you are very keen to talk to the audience on. And I'm
100%.
just hoping that you take the time out and be a part of us again.
100%.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Always a pleasure. Likewise. Thank you.